Good afternoon. Can you all hear me loud and clear? Tanya and Hasina?
Hi.
Hi, Hasina. You can hear me?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Tanya? Hello, Tanya. Dr. Lakshmi?
Okay, there I am. Okay,
I'm going to, hello, Dr. Lakshmi. Okay, I'm going to start this session now. Good
Okay.
afternoon, ladies. I'm your host, Bhavna Alvarez. And I would like to invite Hasina Jalal, co-founder, National Association of Afghanistan on Civil Society, Afghan Women's Empowerment and Capacity Building Center. And I would like to invite Tanya Metox, certified life coach, etiquette professional, licensed cosmetologist. Both the lovely ladies will share their thoughts on a stronger community, the role of a bystander in domestic violence. Over to you, ladies.
Thank you.
Please do start.
Thank you. So Ms. Tanya, would you like to start or I should go ahead?
You can go ahead.
Okay. As time is limited, I first thought to prepare a presentation, but then it's better to just discuss my thoughts on this issue. I'm actually doing my second graduate studies in women and gender studies. And I am currently also working in the Center for Violence Prevention, where we are initiating and implementing different kind of programs and projects on violence prevention here in the US. That's where my interest in this topic is coming from. So basically, first and foremost, we know, I would like to define a bystander. One common assumption that we have about a bystander is that it is a stranger. A bystander is someone who is witnessing an act of violence or assault or any kind of violence, stalking, bullying, and they are not doing anything about it. They are not intervening. And our assumption is mostly that a bystander is someone who is who should be a stranger, but actually it is not the case. Our peers, our neighbors, our relatives and friends also can be categorized in that category. So this is one thing which is very much important that I wanted to take it out of the way before I start talking about the bystander effect, why people don't intervene when they witness an act of violence, and how or what we can do about it. So data shows that mostly in global analysis, 65% of the violent victimization that occurs, there is a bystander who is witnessing the violence. And in the US, there is 70% of in 70% of the case assault cases and 52% of robbery cases, a bystander is witnessing. So that means that in most cases where violence is perpetrating globally, people are there and they're witnessing and they're not doing anything about it. So what are the underlying reasons? What are, because of which reasons people are not intervening? Well, first and foremost, it is the diffusion of responsibility. Data shows that if one person is standing and witnessing violence, there is 75% chances of them intervening. But if there is 6 people standing and being present in that environment, there is only 31% chances of them getting involved and intervening in that act of and intervening and trying to prevent violence. So that means that when you see people around you, you try to diffuse responsibility on others. Another cause can be cause of misfortune. If you assume that the responsible person for the misfortune is the person themselves, so you're not intervening, because this is also a kind of victim blaming, where we tend to, because of our assumptions, we tend to blame the victim in different cases of violence perpetration. Another cause can be the perceived cost that you have assumed, or that you think, which you have to pay if you intervene. So those costs can be emotional, it can be social, and it can be physical fears, such as damage to your reputation, loss of your time, your energy, and any other harms to yourself or to your family. Other reasons can be trying to conform to groups' rules. This is called normative influence. Mostly we try to adhere to the peers' culture and our group's rules, and we don't want to get beyond that. Another cause can be the pluralistic ignorance, or what we, it's basically when you don't think that the situation is an emergency, and
And
you,
sometimes acceptance also. Like suppose if it's a domestic violence and a husband is creating the violence and it's verbal, sometimes you accept it as a woman, which should
yes,
not be the case. Yeah.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
So that is the I'll come to that. That is our social norms or beliefs that we have, that a woman should be accepting whatever, that's happening in the household, because it is part of your compromise and adjustment that women are expected, and
Yes.
it comes to our cultural and religious beliefs as well.
Mm.
So there is like a set of beliefs and norms and attitudes which are all together shaping our attitudes and beliefs in this regard.
That's right.
And the last one is, again, when you feel that you can be wrong about the violence, and if you intervene, you can get embarrassed. So these are
Mm.
the reasons, the most common and important reasons that research show that people why people don't intervene, the causes and reasons. How can we stop the bystander effect? Well, as you said, it's really important that we identify our the underlining social and cultural norms, attitudes, and beliefs, and accordingly to try to change them, and this process to promote moralities, integrity, civility, because these values are the values that help people to become more selfless instead of selfish, and to try to take care of others, and be more responsible towards the society. So this is very important, that we identify our problem in the macro level, which is our beliefs and social and cultural attitude towards this issue. And then, to the other thing is in the legal or a
Mm.
legislation level, where some countries and some states here in the US, they have good Samaritan laws, which are not effective in every state, but it is basically that people are required to intervene if they see an emergency situation, and sometimes if they don't, they are subject to a legal penalty or even a jail time. This is something which is, I think, important, especially in cases of domestic violence, sexual assault,
Mm.
bullying, stalking, anything, cyber bullying. It's really important, because research show that up to 75% of the cases when assault is happening, there is someone there. So, and they can do a lot about it. They can directly intervene. They can uh, delegate responsibility to someone else by informing others, and they can distract the situation. But if they're not doing anything, which is the case in most cases, then obviously cases of violence, they don't get even noticed. let it be, let alone it to be reported or to any action for on it to be taken. So it's really important. Training programs, raising awareness, building capacity of the youth, violence prevention services providing agencies in colleges, in universities is really important. Here in the Center for Violence Prevention, what we do is we have programs for bystander intervention, and also a project called Mentors in Violence Prevention, where our team goes to schools and trains high school students about how they can be good mentors to middle school students and how to raise awareness in this regard. And we have data and statistic that shows how effective raising awareness and training people and building their capacity can be. So this is a path to intervene. It comes from noticing the issue. It's very important that you have the background knowledge and understanding to notice the issue. Most of the time we see a domestic violence happening in a household, or a case of dehumanization, you know, bullying, stalking, and society normalize it for us, and we don't even understand that it is not okay because it's just normalized in the society, and we are unable to interpret what's happening. It's important to first of all notice what's happening and then interpret it, and then to have that understanding to have the understanding of what's happening, to be able to assume responsibility. So it's also because not always people tend to assume responsibility because of the reasons that I just explained. And if we increase the morality and the sense of civility in the society, that will impact people's choices to intervene and to be more responsible. And again, the last thing that should be done is, after you notice, you interpret, and you assume responsibility, is to intervene. And there are many strategies, intervention strategies, which I will not go into, but basically you can either directly intervene, which is by going and talking to the victim or to the perpetrator. Secondly, it can be by distracting the situation. You can try to distract the situation, to buy some time, and to delegate the responsibility to someone else. So that's also important. If you are unable to do anything, you should know that you can call the police, you can call the service providers, and that's how you inform others and delegate responsibility. So I think it's really important to raise awareness in this regard, because bystanders can play a very critical role in reducing domestic violence and any kind of violence, sexual harassment at workplace, anything. But the starting point for bystanders, which all of us can be a bystander at any point of time, because it depends on the fear that we have about the situation and what we project. So it's really important to know that in case we are unable to intervene and directly do something, we can delegate responsibility, and we can still be intervening and still be productive in that regard.
That's really nice, Hasina. You have opened my mind on so many things today. Can we hand over to Tanya? Tanya, would you like to take the stage?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, and thanks, Hasina. That really was good information.
Yes.
I am the child of a survivor of domestic violence. It was very unpredictable. It was very frightening as a child and confusing. I would go to school in the morning and picked up in the afternoon, and we would be at a different home. My mother had left. That happened several times, and she would go back. And I couldn't understand how the man who told me he loved me and I could do anything and be anything also said to my mother that she was a no good woman and she was going to raise her daughter to be just like her. Hurtful things. There was one really dangerous incident that happened. I was awakened by screams, and I heard an ambulance, and then there was silence. And I went to the bathroom, and on the way, I saw on the white painted door frame a bright red blood on it. So I knew something was terrible. And I went back to lay down, but I couldn't sleep. I knew that my mother had to have been at the hospital. And the violence, I never visually saw myself, but I did see pictures. It usually happened at home without a witness, but that particular night, my parents had friends over, and it was my father's best friend. And when my mother came home the next day from the hospital, she had stitches in her face where she had been smashed in the face with a glass. I couldn't understand the one bystander, my dad's best friend, who did nothing. How could he be friends with someone who brutalized his wife like that? That was very confusing. And trying to make a reconciliation between those two opposing messages that I had in the home was damaging to me. Another set of bystanders that we had in our lives were the neighbors who just whispered amongst themselves. I think they felt paralyzed to do anything about our situation. And it was embarrassing for my mother. Her goal was to try to keep the family unit intact. She was really determined to do that. She did not want to have a trail of broken marriages, and not for her children. There was one bystander who actually did act, which was a soul sister thousands of miles away, who opened her home to my mom and her two kids. And the incident that led to that was, I heard arguing outside. Didn't know what was going on. I couldn't see. I tried to peek out the window to see what was going on. But the next day, I saw the aftermath. My mother's mouth was wired shut. Her jaw had been broken. So we went to California, to the Soul Sisters' home, who opened so willingly for us. And it was for a healing time. And it was comforting when we got there. She had a daughter a year older than me, and a son about 5 years older than my younger brother. And that gave us a little bit of sense of normalcy in our lives. And then she connected us with someone who enrolled me in a high school similar to the one I attended in Michigan. And that also felt good for me. It gave me little slices of joy that helped with the pain of watching my mother sipping soup through a straw while her mouth was wired. Very traumatic time. She did eventually go back to Michigan at the end of the school year. And the last incident I wasn't home for. I had left and gotten married. But I found out, not found out because I was away, but there was another incident and she did eventually leave. And I was just so very thankful because it was progressively dangerous. And I appreciated greatly that last bystander who actually took action and really assisted us. And that is so important. I'm glad she acted. The others weren't in the position to. I know my father's best friend, I think he had his own personal history with the type of violence and his own pains that as a child I knew nothing about. Now, being in that situation, there were scars left, which I was unaware of. I had a difficult time in my marriage communicating with my husband. If there was a challenging situation, I would cry before I could speak. I had a difficult time with that. I had a difficult time with worth. I didn't think I was worthy to participate in certain activities or to accept or go after certain things because of my background. I didn't think many other people experienced what I had experienced in my home. So I felt unworthy to do those things. And it was later, after I found the career of life coaching, that began to lift. I was trained on, the first training was on brain functioning. When we're born, our brains are like blank hard drives. And then everything we see, everything we hear, and everything we experience is imprinted on our brains. Then there was another study that showed active brain function under imaging, and you could see grooves in the brain, neural pathways. When a person thought, then they had introduction of new information, new stimulus, and those pathways began to change. And they also showed that those new messages repeated over and over again deepened the grooves in the brain. So I was excited. I saw I could change my reality. I didn't have to live with the training or the mode I was in with those old programs. I could change that reality. And I began to do that. And I call it developing my success environment, introducing things that bring joy and peace. I love nature. I love art, doing those things to fill my soul. And then words, giving myself positive things to hear, affirmations, are wonderful, and repeating those several times through the day. Telling yourself who you are, because your brain doesn't distinguish between what information is true and what information is false. It just receives the information. So beginning to do that. And I think that's very important, as Hashima talked about the children and other people who need the information. We can impact the children, sharing with them gently information to help them. If they like to draw or paint, have them make a description of what their perfect day is and what their perfect life is. And having those images and going through that process can be healing and help them deal with the situation that they're in, and to construct a different surrounding where they can thrive past the reality of the domestic violence that they witnessed or experienced. I'm very thankful that my mother did leave that situation, and she realized and learned some things about her worth. And she did not have to just do that. And there were some spiritual components behind that drove her decision to stay and go back. There were bystanders, her parents, other people who tried to get her to do other things. But early on, she wasn't willing because she was trying so hard to make things work. But in that situation, the abuser has an issue, and there's no way that you, as the victim or the recipient of that behavior, can do anything to change them. That is going to take some real deep soul searching and getting into their own therapy and learning more about themselves and how to correct those behaviors. And I really like what Hashima shared about the center she's involved with, because that is needed. And the middle school level is that's a crucial time of life for them to get information such as that. When I was in high school, I think there was a young lady who was being abused by a boyfriend. I'd never heard of such a thing. And I have a good friend who has a lot of interaction with the domestic violence. And there's an economic, a financial component as well. Sometimes finances, money is being managed and money is being kept from the victim. And so there are a lot of different components and a lot of things to come away from. And that particular history of growing up has really made me quite sensitive to the whole issue of domestic violence and being a bystander. I remember being a teen, we saw something, a friend and I made him follow in the car to see where they went so we could call the police. It was really disturbing, and I might be a little hypersensitive, but I really do keep my eyes open because of my experience. And that is something that really is needed and something that will really help in our communities, being champions and learning what to do and how to intervene and what type of assistance to have and be available.
Tanya, thank you so much. You have bared your soul to all of us.
Yes.
And I must say that you and your mother are women of substance.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm moved.
Mm.
I'm really moved.
Thank you.
Yeah, but you all are women of substance for sure.
Thank you so much.
I would now like to confer the Iconic Woman Award to you, Tanya, for creating a better world for all of us. Thank you so much, Tanya.
Yeah,
and
you.
also to you, Hasina, you were wonderful. And I would like to confer the Iconic Women Award to Hasina for creating a better world for all of us. Thank you so much. And it was a pleasure associating with you all. And I will surely stay in touch with us.
Thank you. Very good. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would now like to call upon Dr. Lakshmi. Dr. Lakshmi, you are the head of department of neonatology, and you will share with us some stories of frontline healthcare workers. On to you, Lakshmi.
I have 10 minutes, 5 minutes.
I think you have quite a lot of time.
Okay.
I'm around 20 minutes.
Yeah. It's lovely to meet you all. And it's really lovely to share your stories also. So all of us know the main thing happening is the pandemic.
Yes.
Taking all of us, you know, we are really shocked and we are caught off guard. And so we are still in the learning curve. That's what I would like to say. Neonatologist means we take care of newborn babies. And I've been practicing for 20 years. More than a consultant and a practicing doctor, I also head the department. I have 10 to 12 residents working. We have 25 to 30 nurses, the paramedical staff, those ward boys, the cleaners, everybody are there. So I have to maintain the integrity of the unit during this tough time, and I really learned a lot. And I'm very happy that we have been given a chance to talk from our point of view. Though people must be hearing a lot of news from the journals, from the media about the plight of the healthcare workers. What is more important, I would like to tell you is, we have to be maintained as a backbone. If healthcare worker system crumbles, you cannot survive, or I can't even say survive, you can't face a pandemic. So we are a real backbone and we should be kept strong and going to be for a longer time. Earlier, thinking in a month, and 3, 4, 5 months is over and we are struggling. And we see our healthcare system slowly crumbling. We are better off in India in the sense we learned from the West what mistakes they did, what problems they faced. Now we are able to correct it and we are in a better position to fight the pandemic. So as a doctor, when it comes to a healthcare worker or as a doctor, what are the things which comes to my mind? The first is, as a person, I have to prepare myself to go work. Okay. And this work is not something which we do on a day-to-day. You know how it is to wear a PPE, 2 gloves, a full mask, double mask, and a dress. And they scare us so much about donning. Donning is which should be worn first in a series of, you feel choked, you're sweating, and your dress is drenched by the time. And the double mask also reduce our oxygen level because we are keep on breathing. So after 3-4 hours, we feel us struggling. When we talk to patient, we have to talk louder. Otherwise, we are not able to hear. So we spend 10 times the energy in those 4 to 6 hours. Initially, we were struggling a lot. We were very depressed. We were tired. We were exhausted. What is it we are into? We were just struggling and trying to find out. And then we became little smarter. We first have to mentally accept this is what is going to happen. We better accept it and start doing. So we started, when we enter, we gulp, we went to a restroom, we gulp a big tall glass of our favorite drink. Then yes, you can do it, all that preparing your mind, and then we do all that and we run inside and we do all the work. So this PPE per se can be harmful to a doctor, to a healthcare worker, in forms of hydration and in forms of suffocation. We have to be mentally prepared. So now that we are prepared, and now we are going to face the patients. We have to face the patients who are afflicted with COVID, and we have to tackle the attendants who are going to bombard us with questions. Are we really the people for it? What happened in many of the medical colleges, the most junior intern has been pushed into such ward. They don't have a say. They can't do it. You won't get your completion. It is mandatory. So they are pushed into the ward. Are they equipped to deal with crisis or not? When they are not equipped to deal with crisis, and when it is very obvious to the patient side, they get abused and thrashed. It's their fault. So it is the healthcare system which has to form a team, form a level of COVID care, form a team. This person can work here, this person is next to him, this person, like that they have to assign, and not push us into the lion's den without being properly trained. So that is where we see the healthcare system crumbling. So it is not at the level of a doctor, it is somewhere a level higher, where the people who take the decision, the policy makers, they should be very, 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 very stringent in forming a team, like who will work in which care, what is their job description. Without that, pushing us into the lines then is little unfair. So I'm a good doctor, I'm an intensivist, I can handle any baby, any critical person. Next, we have to handle, we have to handhold the patients. The fear is terrible. The fear will jump on you. I live, you've been isolated, you're in a separate room. Then they can't speak to their near dear ones. Some of them prefer to speak a video call. Some of them are totally isolated. And then we have to make a video call to the patient's attenders and tell them about the progress, whether he's going to be good, whether he's going to be bad, how long he's going to take. And finally, if something happens, it's breaking the bad news to them. That takes a lot of courage. See, in my 20 years of work, I still do not have the courage to give a bad news to the family. Days gloomed. The next 2 days I keep, did I do the right thing? Did I do that? Maybe I should have stepped up this earlier. Maybe given this drug earlier. This moral postmortem, not the postmortem of the person or anything, the moral postmortem of your mind will really take your toll. So that plays in our mind all the time. So after that, another issue which is going to come, we are not yet faced it, but Bangalore and Bombay are already stating the resources are very limited. You are the person who is going to allocate the resources to that patient. Okay, 10 patient walks in. No, this is what my friend in Denver faced. My friend in Italy faced. They have to quickly decide. He is 70 and 72. It's okay if he doesn't have oxygen. Let me to this young man with 40 years who has got much more to live, much more to achieve in his life. This allocating these resources is another big tension on you. And if you're heading a unit, we are soon going to face it. Then once you see a helpless man leave the world and you break a bad news and you see the relatives crumble, you keep thinking about it. Have I done the right thing? Maybe I should have given oxygen for some more time, try to. So this is a stress disorder. This happens in all these military people, I believe. During the wartime, they get a traumatic stress disorder. Have I done the right thing? I killed so many people. Am I a good person? Am I a bad person? So all the psychological impact will also torture us. Slowly in a day or two, the next patient comes. So you don't have time to think about this. Life moves on. And then suddenly one of your colleague will become positive. The nurse who closely works with you, she says, ma'am, I'm tired. I have fever. My body aches. The nurse cries. I am not able to work anymore, madam. I'm having fever. So, okay, give her time off. Do the test. and we find 2-3 of them back to back becoming positive.
Oh God.
So the government has got an infrastructure in India, in Tamil Nadu. So they take care of these healthcare workers who become COVID positive. A separate quarantine facility, they are given food, they are kept in a separate thing, and they are attended to. In a private hospital, you can't expect the hospital, every employee to be taken care of. Many high-fi corporate hospitals, they've shunned their healthcare workers. You go to a government facility, get admitted. So what is the point? I worked, I have given my life for your institution, and you're shunning me out when I'm positive? That you won't care for me? What happens to my family? What happens to my salary? I'm going to take care of it. Okay, if I don't live, what happens to my family? We have to. Don't worry, sister. We are there to take care. I am there. If the hospital is not bearing your bill, I am admitting you under my name. I will take a lot of motivation, lot of positive talks. And then slowly we send them to our hospital. Our hospital is good enough because we anticipated this and we have reserved 25 beds for hospital employees. Whoever is going to be positive, they get admitted, they get good food, because we are okay, but the nurses live in a single room apartment. They cannot afford quarantining at home. They have a children, they have an elderly parent. And then the fear comes, no, when I come home, keep on obsessively wash my hands. They do gel neti to wash your nails, and we do some betadine coggling. Obsessed doing it. Oh, am I bringing it to my parents? Am I bringing it to my child? So 2 days, this will keep on tormenting. Then we keep swallowing and thinking, am I getting a cold? Do I have feverish? Am I very tired today? Am I getting a COVID? So things will happen. Then all of us will be tested after 5 days. Till the test result come, I just shut down in my house. I'll lock my room. My daughter comes and falls off on me. I get irritated. I want you not to come near me. Why are you coming and falling on me? You know, we become snappy, we become irritated, and we are not in a position to handle home as well as hospital. Especially, I'm telling you, the women folks. Men are cool. If they have some symptoms, they just go and shut themselves. From the family, they inform their family. We play a multifaceted role.
Yes.
I'm a doctor, I am a daughter, I am a mother. So I have to make lot of arrangements for all of them.
Yes.
Some not going to be available for all this. So all this has to be prepared. So how we motivate ourselves, all the women doctors in my hospital. First, we have to hydrate ourselves. All of us carry good amount of water. We are scared to remove the mask and drink in the hospital. Will somebody give us? So we try not to remove the mask and drink in the hospital. We keep a separate room, and I keep disinfecting the room every other day, so that we can just go take a breath, gulp some hydration, feel fit, you're sweating, whatever we lost, we regain. Second, we eat nourishing food. We eat good food at home, and we keep a good pack of food in the car, so that when we go out, we can have. And we need lot of mindset. I'm telling you, I'm doing lot of meditation. I'm doing lot of breathing exercise. You know, the regular breathing doesn't utilize our lung. Our lung should be fully utilized. So we did some pranayams, deep breathing exercise, blowing a balloon, a trumpet or a, flute. All this will help. So we mentally prepared ourselves, and then we come to work. So the thing is, if we fall sick, we have to look at the family also. And we have to look at many institutions, even in government, in Karnataka. They worked for 5 months and the doctors or the healthcare were not paid a penny. How do you expect them to do that? Many people, they had 50% of their salary. How can you expect them to work with 50% of salary? For me, being a head of a unit, my unit I divided into two parts of doctor, 2 parts of nurses, 2 parts of ward attendant, 2 parts of the other people. One part will work for 1 week. The other part will stay at home, replenish. The next part will come next week, so that they get 1 week to recoup at home. But that 1 week is very hectic for them because we are working with 50% people. But what else to do when you have resources are very limited? At this point of time, you can't rope in additional people. So we took our time to prepare our family. I spoke to my husband, I spoke to my in-laws, I spoke to my daughter. See, this is what is going to be life for the next 6 months. I can't take major responsibility, hand over all the responsibilities at home to someone else. They don't know, they are very casual. What is this? This COVID scare, nothing it is. People are making a big issue out of it, all that. It's okay to keep it in mind. I don't want to pass on my fears to them. So we lock our fears and lock our responsibilities inside our mind, put a bold face to them. Yeah, it will happen, and we keep going to the work. Finally, the society is not at all supportive. You know, many of my doctors who are, because I have residents from all over India, from Nagpur, from Bombay, from Karnataka, from Andhra, they have taken small apartments as nearby hospital and they've been asked to vacate. They are scared to have a doctor tenant in their house.
Oh my goodness.
They will bring COVID. I get into the lift in my apartment, another person will say, smile, and he'll walk away. You won't get into the lift with me. So we are all now, we are all beyond reach or whatever you call us, and nobody wants to come near us. Nobody wants to exchange pleasantries with us. And even the more it is very troubling, the hostelites, they stay in a hostel, they tell, it seems, please, you don't come to the common TV room or a dining room. You keep isolated in your room itself, and they don't want us. Okay, you don't have to praise us, you don't have to shower flowers, you don't have to clap. Allow us to do our duty. Like how you do your duty, it is a duty for us. Allow us to do our duty diligently. Don't abuse us. Don't reprimand us. Suddenly government will say, this doctor handled the situation badly and we are reprimanded. Don't reprimand us. Don't abuse us. Don't work abuse us. You treat us like you're equal. We also have feeling. I have to eat. I have to sleep.
Yeah.
Look at my family. And when the OPs were restricted and cut, patients were so upset. But how can we work 24 hours all the time? Doctor, I called you 3 times. You didn't even attend to your phone. But, I cannot be attending to their phone all the time. And just because I'm a doctor, they are not going to give me free education. They are going to give me free drugs. When I go for grocery, nobody is going to give me free groceries. So my financial support is also very important. I am willing to work, but I too need a financial support. You can't cut my finances. No, the hospital is not making a profit. We are not running full strength, and we are spending a lot of money on PPE and other things. So we can't give you a full salary. So who will take care? I have to pay my fees and I have to take care. See, all this should be looked into part by part. Decision makers, the bureaucrats should come with a uniform this thing. No, every hospital should pay. Every hospital should do this. Every hospital should take care of their employees. The plight is, otherwise the entire system will just crumble on your head. Then who will face the pandemic for you? So we need financial support. Healthcare workers need nutritional support. We have a dedicated doctor in the hospital who will give moral support. He's a psychologist. He will speak to everybody who needs help. And the hospital has been so generous in giving financial aid to the family. And many of us have donated and formed a pot of financial support in case they need it.
Good.
We also need nutritional, psychological, financial, emotional support. Yes, you can do it. Come on. And our healthcare needs should also be met. We are also human beings, no? I can fall sick anytime. I need medicine, I need injection. My PG fell sick. The postgraduate who's from Kerala, he fell sick right in front of our eyes. He had 3 weeks of admission. His family is in Kerala. He doesn't want to reveal it to them, but he became moderate to severe sick. I can't the responsibility on my shoulder. I have to call his wife. I called her. I broke the news. They can't come. He can't go. Literally, you know, loads of prayers are also needed during this pandemic. Loads of self-discipline. See, unless your family is affected, you don't realize the gravity of the situation. Hey, what is this pandemic here? Nothing happens. No. Only when it comes to you, you feel what you have let yourself in. So a lot of more social media should put the things forward about mask, distancing, hand hygiene. That's all. We are not telling you not to go here. We are not telling you not to go there. You do whatever you want. That's what the government should do. There's no point in putting a lockdown on papers and everybody roaming and rushing around. That's going to work. It is your responsibility. Every individual should take the responsibility. I wear mask diligently. I will never step in close to a person and talk to him unless needed. And I will not leave the house unless deemed necessary. I will also make sure that I wash my hands all the time. Unless every individual takes the responsibility on their shoulder, I don't think healthcare worker is not a warrior. And we are a warrior without arms and ammunition. Many a times they call me for a sick preterm delivery who born at 8 months, and the mother had to rush in to the theater, and I ran from my home because sick babies, we consultants have to go. And I went there, some mask was put, some gown we put in the theater, immediately attended to both the babies. 25 minutes it took for me to stabilize them, make them breathe, and then they show you all nice faces and they start crying and moving. And then I call the family. Okay, both of them were around 1,100 grams and 900 grams. The family, they are stabilized. They are now a little better. They will go to the intensive care, everything. And the poor husband of mine had to chauffeur me at 3:30 a.m. And finally, while coming home, I just thought I have not taken any precautions. I didn't wear a PPE. I didn't wear a proper face shield. I wear just a single glove because when I entered, already things were in frenzy. Yeah. Anything. That 1 week, my heart rate was 20 higher and BP 20 higher. So scared to mingle with everybody in the room. And the next day only, because the mother came in emergency, the next day only the mother's test was available, which was positive.
Wow.
So we didn't take any precaution. So after a week, they did a test for me and it was negative. That 1 week, no, I had ginger, I had pepper, I goggled 6 times, I did a betadine goggle. What not anybody tells anything, I do. Plight, though we are all prepared with all that system, but at times we are forced into an emergency and we are not able to do the precautions. I think somebody diligently should keep this healthcare worker system very strong. Otherwise, this pandemic cannot be faced by anybody. And I was very happy that I was given a talk here to talk my voice out. My postgraduate is recovering well and he is going to take a flight. I gave him 1 month leave. Another graduate who became pregnant, no, they all had a mental breakdown when this person became sick. They are crying. They said, we don't, and they all abandoned the ward for 48 hours. Then I had to put them to a psychologist and I held fort in the ward, doing the notes, doing the things, being there around all the time. Prepare them. If you wear a mask properly, if you wear your glove properly, even without a PPE, nothing will happen to you.
Dr. Lakshmi, sorry, I'm so sorry. I think we're just running out of time. And I would, go ahead.
I have told my heart out.
Yes.
What I faced in the reality, and we have given lot of this thing to the bureaucrats and the system that these are the things which needs to be attended to. Keep
totally agree.
And we will be there for you.
Excellent. Our deepest appreciation and prayers to you and all the doctors and the health workers, not only in our country, but in other countries, because you all have really worked. This is one team of professionals who have looked after all our COVID victims. So hats off to you and a big, big pranam to the entire community of doctors and health workers.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
It was
for
a
being
pleasure
here.
having you also on our show, and I would like to confer upon you the Iconic Woman Award for creating a better world for all.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much. It
Dr.
was a
Lakshmi.
pleasure meeting you all.
Really a pleasure and all the very best. Thank you,
very much.
Hasina.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Hasina.
Tanya.
Thank
Wonderful.
you, Tanya, for your patient listening.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.